The debates from both the Republican and Democratic parties have been in full swing throughout the last several months. Believe it or not, there are a number of people out there who claim Republicans and Democrats are actually one and the same. I beg to differ. I am Mitch Lambert, and welcome to another episode of Lambert on the Left. I'd like to start by pointing out that throughout the last couple of decades, the Republican Party has slowly deteriorated. They used to have half-decent ideas before. For example, Republican President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed the bill that allowed the interstate highway system to be built. He also taxed the wealthiest Americans at 91%. And you know what? The country thrived. Today's grand old party is more religious, ignorant, war-hungry, and yes, more hateful. Here's a few things you might hear while watching a Republican debate. The first thing you'll hear is all of their talk about how they really want to repeal Obamacare. In fact, House Republicans have tried to repeal it over 50 times. In December 2015, the Republicans composed a bill using precious time and taxpayer dollars that would scrap Obamacare, knowing damn well that President Obama would absolutely veto it. The Republican candidates love to brag about how they would tear Obamacare to shreds and force millions of Americans to lose their coverage. How very Christ-like of them. But what you won't hear is what exactly they'd replace Obamacare with. They all say they'll replace it, they just haven't said a damn thing about what that replacement would actually be. Despite hardly working at all during the calendar year, I don't recall the House Republicans ever coming up with a jobs bill, especially since they love to complain about how the unemployment numbers are so inaccurate, no one has a job, and how the nation is in complete turmoil. Without the help of the mental patient party, the U.S. economy has had 71 consecutive months of private sector job growth, and 14 million jobs have been created over that stretch of time. I really don't understand what universe the Republican Party lives in, but things are really not all that bad economically. You may also notice while watching a Republican debate that in every answer a candidate gives to any question, he A. has to say why Obama is a Kenyan Muslim dictator who wants to destroy America, or B. say why Hillary Clinton is a traitor, criminal, and a donkey witch. The fact of the matter is that the Republican Party really has no platform besides doing the polar opposite of everything Obama did in office. They'd also like to take us back to those good old Bush years when we were losing 800,000 jobs per month. Something else you might hear is that they love to reflect on those glorious Reagan years. Everything Ronald Reagan did was absolutely perfect to them. In fact, in their eyes, Ronald Reagan could do no harm because he was the closest thing to Jesus Christ that ever lived. He pooped rainbows and didn't need Air Force One since he traveled from place to place riding a magical unicorn. They seem to forget that Ronald Reagan illegally sold weapons to Iran, which they later used against us, and that he signed executive actions on immigration. In fact, Ronald Reagan signed 381 executive orders, while in the same breath, they criticized Obama for signing any executive orders at all. He doesn't respect the Constitution, they frequently say. Something else you may notice when watching the Republican debates is that they never, ever mention a serious issue called climate change. To them, it's not even an issue because a majority of them don't even believe it's real, despite the fact that 99% of scientists say it is. But what do they know? They're just scientists. The Republican candidates are so bought out by the Koch brothers and the fossil fuel industry that they will not even acknowledge the existence of climate change, nor have they ever discussed possible ways to increase the nation's use of clean energy. That might just create jobs, something they are very lousy at doing. Perhaps one of the most infuriating things you'll hear when watching a Republican debate will be when they brag about cutting taxes. Jeb Bush is by far the worst offender of this. What these goons don't want you to know is that when they brag about cutting taxes, they frequently forget to mention who exactly they're slashing taxes for. A huge Republican tactic is to cut taxes for the wealthy. But when you cut taxes at any point, someone has to pay for it. So, you know who paid for those tax cuts in Florida under Jeb Bush? The middle class. Time and time again, this party has proved that trickle-down economics do not work. Giving tax breaks to the wealthy does not mean there will be more jobs for the middle class. The only thing trickle-down economics are guaranteed to do is make the issue of income inequality even worse. One final thing you might hear during a Republican debate is war. War, 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 war. Oh yes, the Republicans love talking about how tough they are. Ted Cruz, perhaps the least friendly Canadian of all time, gets aroused when he talks about carpet-bombing children of enemy territories. How very Christ-like of him too. According to the Grand Old Party, we don't have money for infrastructure, welfare, food stamps, early childhood education, higher education, health care, paid family and maternity leave, or really anything. But what we do have money for is war. Of course we do. We have to keep America safe. You know, by spending more money on the military than the next 8 countries combined. The bottom line of this rant is that the Republicans are not interested in helping 99% of the American people. They only want to help the people who already have the means to help themselves.